how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. It's time for my monthly Get Ready With Me reading wrap up. I'm gonna chat about all the books that I read last month in June. I have some major hits, a few misses as well, but I'm really excited to share all these books with you and just have a fun time talking about reading. I've loved doing this series. I've been loving just getting into my love of reading. It's funny actually, like I only just got heavily back into reading in like mid-February and I've already read 51 books. I'm very proud of myself with the amount that I've read in such a short time. I'm very much in this reading grind and I have no intention on stopping anytime soon. My birthday's actually on the 7th and I plan on doing some major book shopping for my birthday and I'm really excited to just add some new things. It's gonna be so fun. But yeah, we're gonna create the look that you see right here. We're gonna chat about books. It's gonna be a good time. All of the books and the makeup that I use today will be linked down below and it's gonna be great. As far as my accessories go, I don't know where this choker's from, but these earrings are Spooky Doodle Club on Etsy. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in, do some makeup, and chat about the books I read. All right, good morning. It's a new month, which means a new reading wrap up, and I am so incredibly excited. I got through 10 books this month. I honestly didn't expect to get through 10. I've been averaging like 11 to 13 books, but I really thought it was gonna be closer to like 7 or 8 because the ACOTAR series filled up a lot of my month, but I still managed to get 10 books out and I'm so excited. Some were amazing, some were bad. But I'm excited to talk about them. As usual, while I'm doing my makeup and stuff, if I don't mention anything specifically, it'll all be in the description box. But let's just dive in. The first book we're gonna talk about while I get started, I have already primed with the Freck Rich Bitch and the Say Super Gel Glowy Primer. These two that I've been using all the time. And I've done my brows, so we're just gonna go right in with foundation. But the first book of the month was Cherish by Tracy Wolff. This is the conclusion to the Crave series. This is the 6th book, and I was so excited that this finally released. I say finally as if I've been itching for it forever. I only just read the whole series like a month and a half, 2 months ago, but this was such a good conclusion. As usual, I'm gonna try really hard not to be super spoilery or anything like that because I don't want to ruin it for anyone who's interested in these books. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit vague. I'm not gonna give like explicit details because I don't want to ruin anything from even the first book, but it was just a really good conclusion. It follows up after both the 4th and 5th books really well because the 5th book technically takes place between books 1 and 2, but you still don't want to read it until after book number 4. Book number 5 from the past is kind of setting up for this book. So you're revisiting the world that you venture in the 5th book. You are just getting to see more of these characters and all the shenanigans they're up to, trying to figure out how to save one of their friends and kind of reset some harmony back into the world essentially, because there's a lot of unrest and chaos happening. A lot got resolved in the 4th book, but there's still some other issues to be dealt with. And it was just a really fun conclusion. Overall, I give that whole series as a whole like between like 4.5 stars, and I really enjoyed this one as well. Book number 2 of the series was my absolute favorite. I loved that book. And number 5 was probably a close second just because I liked seeing more of what happened between 1 and number 2. And this one was great as well. I was super pleased with it. I'm sad that the series is over. I've seen talk that there's gonna be like branched off stories in this world still coming. I don't know exactly what that means, but either way, I'm excited to continue diving in. Next, we're gonna dive in to the ACOTAR series. I'm so happy that I finally read it. I was procrastinating just because I knew it was a bit of a larger series and I was a little intimidated, but I'm so happy that I finally like took the plunge and dived in. Dove in? Dived in. Dove in, that's correct, that's English. I'm gonna conceal now. ColourPop Pretty Fresh and Rare Beauty Under Eye Brightener. So ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses is the first one. Super cute. I love the covers on these books. I think they're so pretty. Again, I'm gonna try my best not to be super spoilery. If I say anything spoilery, I'll give you a little spoiler alert and keep it really short so you can just skip ahead like 20 seconds. But no spoilers so far. The first book was great. I mean, they were all great. As a whole, I would give this whole series like between 4 to 5 stars. It was amazing. The first book is basically like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. You start with Feyre, who my new kitten is named after. She is basically just trying to feed her family. Everyone is super poor and she's trying to take care of them. So she's in the middle of winter hunting. She kills a wolf Wolf ends up being part of the Fae, so the Fae basically come to capture her and basically sentence her to life living with them. So she's stuck there kind of learning more about the Fae, trying to figure out an escape plan. She ends up discovering things she likes about it, and the rest is history. Again, I don't want to like spoil the whole thing, but it's literally based on the synopsis on the back, so it's not spoilery. I would love to know though, for those of you who read it, did any of you love Tamlin in the beginning? Because I know some people like really did. I never did. I kind of always hated Tamlin, so love that for me. Moving on to book number 2, A Court of Mist and Fury. This was my favorite one. I gobbled it up. Honestly, I gobbled all these books up. I read all 4 and the novella in like 2.5 weeks. I honestly didn't realize I was reading them as fast as I was until after it was over with. And now I'm like sad that it's over. I'm itching for more. I think there's supposed to be 1 or 2 more books in the series eventually, but alas, I am on a tangent. Basically, the second book takes place with her doing her thing, still in the Fae realm, living with Tamlin, who captured her in the first book. She finds herself having to, trying to phrase this in a way that isn't spoilery. She finds herself having to visit the Night Court on occasion to visit with Reese. I know that it's not pronounced Rise. I know it's pronounced like Reese or Reese. My brain doesn't see that. It says Rise, so that's what I'm gonna say. And I'm so sorry, but that's what my brain does. I can't help it. This book is very much about getting to know herself more and what her true desires are, and just learning more about what she's capable of and stuff like that. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I completely gobbled it up. It was such a good book. I feel like I have to show you this TikTok though, because it cracks me up every single time. Don't watch this clip if you haven't read the second book yet, but it cracks me up every single time.
Nothing's gonna come between our love, Judy. Nothing. Oh my damn it, Kevin!
Oh, it cracks me up every time. I love all the ACOTAR memes. It is just the best thing in the world. I'm just in love with the world. I love the world building that Sarah J. Maas is able to do. It really like transforms me in there. I feel like I live there. It's just the best time ever. I love that it's such a popular series. I feel like it's very deserved. The hype is very real. And I'm just excited to dive more into other Sarah J. Maas worlds. I want to read Throne of Glass. I want to read Crescent City. I'm taking a little pause on it just because Throne of Glass is a very long series and I want to read some other things. But I might pick up the first book soon just to like, you know, set the tone, get it in my collection. I had the first ACOTAR book sitting in my collection for like a month and a half or so before I finally read it. So I feel like that's what I need to do with the Throne of Glass series. Also, minor spoiler, I want to talk about book number 2 a little bit more if you haven't read book number 1 yet, so skip ahead just like 20-30 seconds. I just loved her falling in love with Rise so much. It was so pure and wonderful. I just loved it. I loved the kind of will they, won't they. I loved the slow burn of it all. It was just so good. So yeah, moving on to book number 3, A Court of Wings and Ruin. Side note, I gave the first book like a solid 4 stars. I gave the second book a solid 5. Court of Wings and Ruin is the 3rd book. This one just deals with a lot of like adventure and war and kind of quest achieving. Like there's certain things they have to collect, so you're going on these different journeys with them. Forming alliances, getting to know other entities, so to speak. I don't even want to say characters because it's not like they're just other members of the Fae realm, just like other entities in general. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Sometimes like the more war-based books are a bit heavier, but I feel like Sarah J. Maas still just did a really good job at making it very digestible, if that makes sense. It wasn't like too overwhelming and I still very much enjoyed all of it. And then the little novella, A Court of Frost and Starlight. This one takes place in between books 3 and 4. It's just a very cute, easy read. It's a little winter solstice story. It was very adorable and I very much enjoyed it. It's not pertinent to the plot. It does set you up for the 4th book a little bit because the 4th book is in Feyre's sister Nesta's perspective. So you get set up for that a little bit, but not even like you could skip it and you would be fine. But I was ready to gobble up even more of this world, so I was absolutely gonna read it, and I thought it was really cute. Maybe if I didn't read this in the summer, I would have preferred it. Like, I feel like it would have been a really cute, cozy winter read, but I also hate the summer, so it did kind of transform me out of summer a little bit. But this was a super fast read. Like, there's really not even a plot to it. It's just kind of winter solstice shenanigans, and it was very cute, and it was like a quick day read for me, and I I enjoyed it. Just a cute little soft story, especially after the heaviness that is like the war happening in the third book. It was a really nice kind of break into the final book that's out right now. Obviously there's more coming, but the final one that is currently available. Side note, I've been re-obsessed with the Blossom blush from Lethal. I just think it's so pretty. I love that like soft peachy pink, the soft glow that it leaves behind. I'm just obsessed. And finally, the fourth book. This is a big boy. A Court of Silver Flames. Like I mentioned, this one takes place through Feyre's sister Nesta's perspective, and I loved it. That was my second favorite book of the whole series. I loved learning more about Nesta and Cassian and just getting to know their story and figuring out what's going on with her and what she is, again, I don't want to like spoil things from earlier books, but just like what she's been going through, how all of this that's been going on with Feyre has been affecting her and how her own changes have been affecting her. And it was just so good. It was a very good message on just like female empowerment, because she also starts to kind of help out some of the other women around that have been like wronged in the past in different ways. And it was just such a good story. It was so fun. I read it so fast. It made me really happy. And now I'm really sad that we don't have any more right now. But it does leave you off like very much like satisfied for now. Like it doesn't leave you on a big cliffhanger. It's funny, like I thought I was gonna take a break after book number 2 and read some other stuff, but book number 2 leaves you on such a cliffhanger that you have no choice but to continue reading. If you're gonna take a break reading these books, either stop after the first or the third, or just do them all like I did, because you can't stop after the second one. That just doesn't work. But overall, I loved it. If I had to rank them, book number 2 was my absolute favorite. Book number 4 was my second favorite, very close in proximity. They like both were 5 stars for me. Book number 3, I'd give like a solid 4.5, and book number 1, I'd give a solid 4. I'm not really counting the novella in the ranking because it was just its own thing. I think I gave it like a, I don't know, like 3.5, 4 stars, something like that. Like it was simple. I mean, it's what it needed to be, but it's like hard to even pit it against the other ones because it's its own moment. But overall, it was such a good series. I loved how excited so many of you were that I was reading it. Like I've gotten so many like DMs like wanting to chat about it and people just excited for me reading it. I even had people saying that they're now inspired to reread it because it'd been a while since they read it the first time. And I just love that. It's such a fun world and I just can't wait for more. I would love to hear your thoughts though. Like give me your thoughts about that whole world, like the different characters, who are your favorites. I love them. I love the Bat Boys. Everyone's just so good. I mean, not everyone. We don't love everyone in this world, but you know what I mean. The ones that are great are fantastic. I love Amryn and Azriel, and oh, it was just such a fun story. For highlight, I want to use Moon Cruiser from Kaleidos. I used this recently and I was so in love, and now I want to use it again. And I'm doing a blue look today, so this will vibe with it nicely. I can't believe I've read that whole series. Like it feels like it's still such a current thing for me that I read it. Like I feel like I'm in the story still right now, but I also have left. Like I've read 4 books since that series already. So I have post-book depression now that that series is over for me. But at least we get to be happy with the fact that there's more to come. Side note, I never get sick of bluey purple highlighters. I'm gonna spray with my ColourPop Pretty Fresh and then we'll move on to the eyes and talk about the remaining 4 books. I'm gonna do a little combo for my eyes. I'm gonna do my collab with Shroud, the It's Freaking Bats, with the new Peaches and Dreams. I just think they'll be a really fun combo together. They look like that, so super cute. I'm really not doing anything like that fancy with the eyeshadows themselves. I'm going to use Adams from my palette as like my deepening shade, and I want to blend it out with Drenched from the Peaches palette. And then on my lid, I want to use some of my Moonlit Metal Toppers from Menagerie. I'm gonna use Tetra all over the eyes. It's just such a pretty, shifty, sparkly thing. And then I'm gonna use Hummingbird probably in my inner corner. I used it recently and I can't resist doing it again. I'm gonna start by priming with my Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. I also desperately need to put some brow gel in my brows. I never do my clear brow gel until like after I've finished my actual face, because otherwise like brushes move them around anyways. So now I need to glue them back in. Been using the Milk Makeup one lately. It's not my favorite. Like it holds them enough, but it's definitely not super glue. The NYX Thick It, Stick It or Brow Glue are the best. but this one does the job decent. All right, so first things first, my DNF'd book of the month. Unfortunately, I've only DNF'd one other book in my journey reading since mid-February, but this is Sally Thorne's Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match. I was so excited for this. I actually got it as a gift from a friend, and I was really excited because I had it on my list already. I thought it would be super cute. Unfortunately, I just kind of hated it. I got 30% of the way through and I was just like, I can't take it anymore. It felt like punishment to read it, honestly, which kind of sounds dramatic, but that's how it feels. And you know, life's too short to read things that you're not vibing with. And I gave it as much effort as I could. I thought about reading a little bit further, but I couldn't take it. I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't like the main character. I didn't like the writing style. And it just overall wasn't hitting right for me. So basically what it's about, as far as I got / what the synopsis tells me, is it's two siblings, Victor and Angelica Frankenstein. They're young adults, they are orphans, their family had passed away long ago, but they are living large. Like, they are wealthy, they're super well off, they live in like a fancy estate. The brother Victor is a like reanimator, I guess is his job title. He reanimates men to bring them back to life. That's kind of his shtick. And Angelica, the younger sister, she's very annoying. Also, this takes place in like the 18th century, and I just feel like the way the writing style was just trying really, really hard to make sure I knew that it was the 18th century, but in like a bad way. Like, I felt annoyed by it. Like, I almost would have rathered the time period be more ambiguous, you know? I don't know. I feel like that's probably nitpicky, but that's how I feel. That's my truth, and I'm sticking to it. I love Adams. I'm so happy with my shade. Side note, sorry. Basically, she's, I think, 24, and I guess back in those days, if you were 24 and unmarried, it was like unheard of. So she's desperate to find a man. She needs a husband because she doesn't want to be an old spinster lady living with her brother and his fiance, soon-to-be wife, forever, and just be single and alone. Even though she seems like she should be very happy anyways, like it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Like, she has a great life, a great home, she loves her siblings, so it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. But anyways, she ends up perusing the morgue with her brother, kind of picking out aspects of different men that she likes. She's like, I like this guy's face, I like this guy's everything. So she's kind of picking out and shopping for her perfect guy, which was already kind of weird. Like, it felt kind of predatory, but you know. She ends up bringing him to life while her brother is working on a different creation. He ends up being totally normal. Like, he wakes up just like, hey, what's going on? She kind of explains to him like, this is why I brought you here. And he's like, listen, I don't know you like that. I don't even know me like that anymore. This isn't even my body. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't think I can just like be with you. Like, I don't know anything yet. And she like kind of throws a fit about that, which it's like, girly pop, calm down. Like, he said no. It's not the end of the world. You don't just get to make a guy and expect it to work out. I know I'm being really critical when I talk about this. I was just really annoyed reading it. I know, like, at the point that I left off, it's like tapering off into the adventure of him discovering himself. And I'm sure they end up getting together in the end because that's just how these books go. But I just wasn't enjoying it. It just felt not for me, and I really wanted to because I love spooky stuff. I loved the idea of it so much, so I was really, really sad that it wasn't working out, but alas, you know, it happens sometimes. I was talking to my husband Zane about it and giving him like my general things I didn't like about the book, and he was like, I feel like it would have been better if Victor, like, without her knowledge, created like a partner for her. Like, it was created by somebody else for the purpose of her. It would have felt less creepy, and I totally agree. That could have been such a minor change that would have made such a big deal. But alas, if you loved that book, I'm thrilled for you because I really wanted to like it, and I'm really glad that you liked it, but it just wasn't for me. There were just things I wasn't vibing with it. But yeah, I didn't even rate that book just because I feel like I can't rate books that I didn't finish. I feel like the fact that I DNF'd it is rating enough, honestly. Moving on though to Cackle by Rachel Harrison. This was also a gift by the same friend. I was like, I still want something spooky and magical, so we're going to persevere and continue with that, because like, even though I just read a very fantasy filled series, I wasn't totally ready to let go of like the fantasy element, so I wanted other spooky things. So Cackle, Rachel Harrison, that was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Such a good story about like a witch's journey and kind of rediscovering herself. The main character is Annie. She's just getting out of a bad breakup with her boyfriend. I mean, it wasn't a bad breakup in the sense that they hate each other, but that's almost worse because they're like still friends and they were together for like a decade. Like she thought they were gonna be together forever kind of thing. And then he just kind of out of nowhere is just like, hey, I don't think we're happy. Like we should break up, which, you know, valid, it happens, but she's dealing with that essentially is the gist there. This is so pretty. I really like these toppers so far. I've worn them a couple times. So I'm just gonna kind of lightly tap it around and I'll kind of build up more as I see fit. So pretty. But she ends up getting a new job, kind of quite a few hour drive away. I don't think it's specified. It takes place in Manhattan and then she moves to like an upper state New York small town to take up a teaching job there. And she's like, you know what, I don't really have anything going for me here. Maybe now is the time to kind of start anew. So she leaves. She ends up making friends with this girl, Sophie. And I loved Sophie. I thought she was such a fun character. I just loved the way she interacted and was described. She just sounded like such a dream. She's beautiful, she's fun, she's taking her around the town, introducing her to all these people, showing her a fun time, and making her feel just so wanted and so special. And it's just such a fun story of just, you know, self-realization and learning how to be comfortable alone and like not in a relationship. And it was just so fun. A good mixture of just like, I don't know, I keep saying self-realization, but that's really like the main premise of it, but just a good combination of that, plus also a solid friendship story and magic, and it was just so cool watching the story unfold. I loved it. I gave it like a solid, probably a solid like 4 stars. Like it wasn't like a perfect book, but I really enjoyed it. I read it so fast, and I was worried when I read the Angelica Frankenstein book, and Zane even said it too. He was like, are you sure that you don't like this book? Or is it just that it's the first book you're reading after ACOTAR? And I was like, I recognize your point, but I don't think you're correct. And that proved it. Like, I loved this book. Like, I didn't miss ACOTAR at all while I was reading it. So it wasn't that the Angelica Frankenstein was just the first book I read after ACOTAR. It just wasn't a good book for me. And you know, that's okay. They can't all be winners. The book I read after Cackle was Small Town Big Magic by Hazel Beck. I'd had that on my want to read list for quite a while and finally got around to buying and reading it. I think I bought it like a month ago, but finally got around to reading it specifically. This one takes place through Emerson Wild's perspective. She is just... I want to start by saying I didn't like the main character at all. I found her to be dreadfully annoying, but you know what? It's okay. It happens. She has a very quirky personality, and not in a good way. She's very type A, very schedule oriented, which you know I am too, but she's it to the extreme. She also seems very narcissistic. I feel like I need to stop like talking bad about her before I even tell you the general plot. Okay, Emerson Wild grows up in this city. She loves her city. St. Cyprian, I think is how it's pronounced. She loves her town. She's obsessed with it. She doesn't like work for the city or anything. She's just a very active member of her community. She's in like her, I don't know, mid-20s if I am remembering correctly. She has a friend group. She thinks some of her friends are kind of weird because they're into things like crystals and things like that. Very judgy of her friends, honestly. I think I want to do a little graphic liner swoop. Basically, things happen. She ends up finding herself with this boost of power, and then basically this whole world unravels around her. She finds out that she is magical, but her memory was wiped. She has to kind of figure out how to deal with that. I'll fix that in a minute. I know it's a little bumpy, but I just wanted to get a rough draft going. This eye needs slightly more blue anyways. I feel like it's not totally the same. But she's trying to basically regain her memories, remember her magic. She's also just going through realizing that basically everyone around her is magical and she's kind of been living in this delusion. And then her and her friends have to band together to save the town. Things I didn't like about the book, mostly just the main character. I found her to be very annoying. She's very narcissistic, very full of herself. She thinks she's the best of the best. Even when she does like rediscover her powers, even though she's been like out of the game for quite some time, she thinks she's just the absolute blessing, like the savior of the town, which to be fair, she is quite powerful, but It's like, listen to your friends. Like, she was completely ignoring her friends when they were giving her advice and stuff. It was kind of painful. I feel like the book was also big. Like, it's not even that thick of a book, but I feel like it was bigger than it needed to be. There was a lot of internal dialogue of her describing every little thing ever, which gets on my nerves in books really bad. I'm cool with world building, but it needs to be to an extent. I also don't need a self-realization monologue after everything anyone says ever. Like, I want to get to the point a little bit faster. So I feel like this book could have been a little bit shorter, and I didn't like the main character. The saving graces of the book were honestly the side characters. I really liked her friends. I thought they were fun. But overall, I didn't really enjoy the book. I gave it 2 stars. Unfortunately, that's my lowest rated book so far that I didn't DNF. Pretty much everything besides that is a 3 stars or above. So just wasn't my favorite book. I know there's another one coming out at some point through her sister's perspective, but I'm absolutely not interested in reading it. I just don't think it's for me. It just wasn't my favorite story. Took a little break to do my liner. It's not perfectly even, but you know, it's fine. It's good enough. They're sisters, not twins. But the final book I read was The Only Purple House in Town by Anne Aguirre. I read her Fix-It Witches trilogy like 2-3 months ago, and I loved them. It's the Witch Please, Boss Witch, and Extra Witchy. They were all super cute, different stories of different members of the same coven. And I thought, based on what Goodreads said to me, because it said it was the Fix-It Witches #4, like, it's not, but it is. Like, it's not another Fix-It Witches book. Like, it's not another member of the coven. It does still take place in St. Clark, which I really enjoyed. I liked the fact that it was kind of a completely different story in the same town where you get little glimpses of some of the characters you're familiar with, but for the most part, it's a totally new story. It takes place through Iris's perspective. It starts with her current roommates, and she's just going through it. She's not having a great time in life. She's broke. She doesn't really get along with her family. Her family is from a family of, like, vampiric energy, I guess, so to speak. Like, they're different kinds of vampires and stuff. But she never inherited the powers that her family has, so she just feels kind of lost, kind of just like the lonely human who's not really doing much. She ends up inheriting her, like, great aunt's house in St. Clair. So she moves, especially because she doesn't really have a job. She is late on rent. Like, she has no purpose even being where she's currently at. So she's like, yeah, I might as well go. Falls in love with the house. She's like, you know what? I could always turn this into, like, a rental. Like, I could get some other roommates in here with me and I could start fixing up the house and it'll be great. She decides to put an ad out to hopefully attract some people to want to come stay in one of her 5 extra bedrooms. The house is super cool. It's like this really awesome purple Victorian huge house. It needs a lot of work, but it's like such a cool house. Next, we focus on our character Eli. It kind of bounces between the 2 perspectives. It's in 3rd person perspective, but it still bounces between the 2 characters' perspectives a little bit more. So we have Eli. He is young 20s. I think he's like 2 years younger than Iris. I think she's like 27. He's probably 25. He got super lucky in life. He went to school for some kind of tech industry type thing, and he ended up basically coming up with some apps that made him like tons of money. Like, he is big rich. Like, he is fine. Like, he has no financial troubles at all. His main issue is he doesn't really have any family. All of his family is gone at this point. Like, he's lost both his mom and his dad. He wasn't really close with his extended family, except for the grandma on his dad's side. She happens to live in St. Clair, and she is looking to sell her house and move to a retirement community. So Eli offers to come help, like, pack up and sell her house for her. And yeah, that's what he does. Eli's actually from the town that Iris grew up in before she also moves to St. Clair. And he knew her back in like elementary school, middle school kind of days before he moved to St. Clair for high school to be with his grandma. He was getting bullied really bad. Iris steps in, saves him, and that's how he has a connection to her. He's kind of been fond of her ever since. He checks up on her every so often. Not in like a stalkery way, but he's just, you know, sometimes you get that interest in a person and you feel like looking them up. So that's kind of what he does, but he never really reaches out to her. But then when he's in St. Clair, he bumps into her and things kind of go from there. They kind of reconnect. Although she doesn't know that he already knows her, she thinks they're meeting for the first time. And it's really fun. And the rest of the story is more so just based on her kind of accruing these other like misfit people that need a place to stay. They form like a very nice bond, a really good found family kind of story. Honestly, the romance in it is very, very minor, especially compared to the other Fix It Witches books where it would get kind of smutty. This one is very tame. Like the love aspect is like so minimal, but it was a very fun, just kind of helping each other out, found family, friendship building. It was a really cute story and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this one, what did I give this one? Like maybe a solid 3.5, 4 stars? Let me check. I mostly just use Goodreads as a way to track my own personal stuff. Okay, I gave it a solid 4 stars. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I read through it pretty fast and I had a good time with it. And those were the 10 books that I read last month. But I need to finish up my makeup now. I'm pretty much done. But I need to throw on a lip, maybe some jewelry, and I'll be back when I'm complete. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. I would love to hear your thoughts on just everything. The makeup I used, the look that I created, the books that I read. Are you interested in any of these books? Have you read them yourself? What have you been reading and loving lately? I'd love to know. I'm constantly adding new things to my want to read list. I have a never-ending list of books I eventually want to read. If you made it to the end of this video, leave some book emojis. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me on my other socials. You can join the battybean fam. I'm battybean on everything, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And if you want, you can subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. I'm posting most days here as well, and feel free to join my channel memberships. The link to sign up will be down below. You'll get fun little perks, including a members only get ready with me once a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye. Do we have someone who needs to pay the cat tax? Little Feyre darling wanted to pay the cat tax. Say hi, Faye. You're so small and so cute, I can't take it.